Hello, hello.
Here we are. We're live on Facebook as well. Welcome, welcome.
Hello, hello.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Actually, I'm gonna put this
Good
up a little bit.
evening. Blessed rising. Mascoficio.
I'm going to take a minute to share the Facebook Live to my page.
Okay. Hello, hello. Welcome. Tell us where you're bringing magic in from today, where you're tuning from, where you are in the world,
Yes.
how you're feeling for the vibe. Yes, what's your word? Go. Start.
Great. It's Sunday.
It's Sunday.
Yes, it's Sunday. It's quite sunny on this side. In Maryland, on the East Coast, although it is getting a little bit chillier, welcoming fall, but it's still summer. We're getting the summery vibe still.
Yes, we're keeping the summery vibes alive.
Yes.
I am keeping
You
them.
have a pretty summery vibe, actually. I like it.
Maggie from Puerto Rico, now in Florida. Hola. Thank you for joining us. Maggie, what's your word for the day? What's the feeling? What's the loudest emotion? Tell us, tell us, tell us. Also, tell your friends to bring a friend, to tag a friend or a fam, because today we're holding each other accountable in love. Yes, Maggie. Maggie's word is love. That's the loudest emotion, and that's where we want to be.
I'll take it. I might borrow it. I might borrow it from Maggie. Can I change my word? can I change my emotion to love? I'll take it.
I will go with abundance because I closed my night with an abundantly loving sister and started it with, again, so much magic. And I'm just feeling the abundance and I'm ushering more of it in and I share it with you all. That's my word.
Nice. What kind of omelet was it?
Oh, secret ingredients. I'll just say there was manchego.
Ooh. I'm not gonna lie. I want an omelet right now. I want an omelet with some toast.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have been pampered. I have been pampered. But this is what happens when you just go for things. There was absolutely no plan for this or last night. We just went for it.
Are you saying scrap the plan and just do it?
I'm not saying all plans need to be scrapped because not all plans have been created equal. But I am saying that there are times where plans just, need to take a back seat and we need to go with what's loudest and just there calling us. And yesterday, that's what that is.
Nice. I support that experience.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's definitely fitting for this theme of today's conversation of just go with it, right? Of just doing it. Because we've been talking about trying to start. Well, we haven't actually talked about just actually starting and what does that look like and how do you do it and just go for it.
Especially with or around self matters of the self, right? Self growth, self love, self care, anything, whatever it is, where do you start? Like, where do I start to have that conversation with myself? Where do I start to ask myself what I actually want?
So it's funny because like my first inclination is I want to answer that question with a question. Because I find myself asking myself, when is it time? Like, when do you know when it's time to quit? Right? Because when I think about starting, right, there needs to be like room for
Why?
a new thing to come.
Why?
You welcome a new thing.
But why can't you welcome a new thing that comes out, like, that is what it is starting? Why do you
kind of broke up a little bit.
Why do you have to have a timer or an expiration date of some sort to whatever it is you're starting before you start? Like, what's at the root of that?
So I'm thinking about things that happen in tandem, or I guess like in association with each other, like work, for example, right? Like, it's sure you can take on a second job, but like, when do you know it's actually time to, if you realize that the job that you're at right now isn't fulfilling or isn't part of what you want, or you've evolved and you've changed your focus, and you know that there is this other passion, you know, this passionate thing that you want to start, whether it's a project or another career or whatnot, for example, you do have to quit or let go of that job at a certain point.
Yeah, but like, why not trust that that's going to come to you? Like, you will recognize when that time is. Like, why are we not trusting ourselves with that intuition, that voice in us that actually even told us, you know, maybe you should look into starting that, because there's that voice is there. It's there all along. Right. But like, if we trusted it enough to say, okay, we'll give this a try, why are we like starting this relationship with self and this journey that we're starting right now, already anticipating that we need to know where our out is. The escape route needs to be clear. We need to have a map in our back pocket, and whatever excuses or justifications that we will prompt ourselves to stop or quit or run with the first challenge, they already need to be set, because just in case we don't hear ourselves when ourself tells us enough. But isn't that like already starting the relation, that this project, this hobby, this passion you are pursuing, whatever it is that we're starting, isn't that already starting it with the energy that it's going to end? Or that we're going to fail at some point, or we're not going to reach our destination, basically.
So I guess I'm thinking about it more so like from really a practical, pragmatic perspective, like making stuff work, like practically. But I think before then, what you're maybe alluding to is maybe talking about the mindset and really trusting yourself intuitively, and let that be the guide in terms of like how we want to manifest and starting in this new, which I don't see them in conflict. You know, these, when you marry the two in kind of like your intuitive self of what you're thinking about, what you're feeling, to like how practically things will work out.
Yeah, but that's a trap. For me, that's a trap.
How?
We set we say this is what we want to do.
Okay.
Or this is what we want to feel, or this is where we want to go towards. The intention is there. We've set that intention.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of just asking ourselves, okay, what do we need to do? What's the first thing that we can do to like feel that emotion or get a step closer to that destination? Instead of looking at pragmatically or practically what we can do, we get stuck into thinking about how or what it's good. How is not is not our job. It's not our problem. It's not. You know, why are we asking how this is going to happen and not asking how we came into this world and how people, you know, can be the way people are, or this world can be the way it is. Like, it's a never-ending cycle. And I realized that the more I focus on how what I want will come to me, the more I push it away.
So you're talking about like expending so much like worrying energy into trying to being fixated on trying to figure out every nuts and bolts before you actually even, that's even more crippling because you don't even get to the part where it's just like, okay, let me press start and go, because I'm so worried and engulfed into like thinking
I'm
about
glad. I'm glad.
how to unfold that.
I am glad you
Right.
brought press start example into this conversation. When you get in the car, it doesn't matter where you're going. When you get in the car, for that car to move to wherever the destination, you don't know what the traffic's going to look like. You don't know what kind of maniac got into what kind of accident because they were impatient. You don't know what deer might have been crossing or what ducks might be quacking along the way, stopping you from reaching your destiny. You don't know, but you start. You start that engine. It's like it's the first thing you do.
I think what you're saying is embodied in this in this saying, which we've talked about before, is walk the way and the way will find you.
Yeah, when you start to walk the way appears.
Yeah. So it's pretty much like, and I think it's true with a whole lot of things. It's like, how many times have we started whatever, like a project, new job,
AfrikanUnicorns.
AfrikanUnicorns.
It was just like, are we just gonna keep talking about that? I mean, Ines, how long? When you went back to look at the notes, what was the year on those notes?
I think it was 2017. Where like the whole podcast, like, you know, the idea. And the thing is, like, we went as far as like planning episodes. We went as far as like chunking for that part.
Yeah.
And so it's been, in terms of something written, like it's been, the manifesto has been written for a really long time. It's just, it always, we always were thinking about it. We're always talking about what our thoughts are about how a show would come about or a podcast would come about. And we went as far as like mapping it and putting it, the skeleton, essentially the structure.
All the people we'd reach out to for branding, for recording, for tech related.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the team of advisors that could potentially be everything was on that document. What was left?
Pretty much starting. So pretty much starting, yeah. So I think it's about, and I think also even when we started, it was about just work with what you have, right? It's well, I have one microphone, I have a laptop, and I have a bunch of things that I can stack up and get this camera to be in line with what I want and play with the lighting so that's good enough for the actual show. And I think once I started looking around, I was like, I pretty much have all I need. It's and also reframing success for yourself, right? Like, and I think it's something that I had to do a whole lot of, more so within the past 2 years. It's like, how do I define success for myself? Even if I wanted this idea of a podcast, of a traditional podcast, of what that would look like and the kind of following and the kind of attraction and the kind of audience and all of that prep work, right? And I think it's just like I had to reframe a whole lot of it for myself, because when it got to the point when I started asking myself questions and the answers were about how other people would view success or how other people would view the show, is when I had to just kind of take a step back, because I was like, no, I want the show to be aligned with my intentions or what I want and how I put it out and the effort that I want to put into it. I know what kind of effort I want to put into it, and it's going to be great. So that's even successful enough for me, you know, that we can go with a live show. We'll do it on social media. It's what I have available, accessible, and free. And that's what I can work with right now. And I think, so like once I've reframed that and had that perspective, it was a lot easier to just go with it. And once it started, even in meeting other people that are kind of interested in the same cause, and in meeting people like Bill or other people that are actually doing great things whether it's Africa related, whether they're in the diaspora, whether they're back in Africa working, or all the different perspectives that came about in talking about success and their own experiences and stories that they have created for themselves and how they came about accomplishing it. And that was empowering because you realize everybody is on different journeys and you listen to how everybody took their path and you're like, oh, that's great. Like that was easy. I didn't think it was like that difficult. You find the support, you lean into that. But it also gives you a whole lot of ideas on how you can take that back and start instituting some of what you've learned and what you've heard from other people sharing their perspectives. So I think that was really valuable in kind of walking the way, and then the way we'll find you is like all these people that I didn't think I would be interacting with virtually, and kind of just meeting people outside of even just the DMV that I wouldn't have met in person, but we're really great friends even throughout this experience. So I think that's even something I wouldn't have anticipated, to be honest, in even in this experience.
And I think that's a big part of what I mean. We get so caught up into how this thing that we want to start is going to start and what happens after it starts. We get so held up on that we kind of preempt or prepare an outline or a map for how it needs to happen. And we restrict ourselves unknowingly on all the other ways it can happen, all the other ways that it may grow, and all the other ways that it may not. Like there's a certain direction that maybe that, when we actually started African Unicorns, the idea was, okay, we're going to get this perspective from, all the different sides of the continent and the diaspora. Didn't pan out. It didn't stop us. But if we had stopped a little longer before actually starting this show and took into account that actually maybe people won't show up, or actually maybe people get busy, or people lose it, or whatever, we would have gotten shackled there.
You end up stopping yourself, essentially.
I mean, we still shout out and love to everyone who has been liking and loving our page and sharing these videos with people. So much love and gratitude and appreciation, because every now and then, a Facebook reminder or alert will pop up, and to see that, oh, you have 500 likes, or, this past month, 222 extra likes. And it's just, not that we're here to gather these things, but it's just going back to how we started and the things that we were thinking about. Oh, how will this land with people? How will people take it? But going back to why we're starting again, Ines, what you wanted to offer, what I wanted to offer, what I wanted to get out of this, and what you wanted to get out of this.
Right.
We're getting it, and we're getting so much more out of it. It's just like, what were we so hesitant about?
Yeah.
And again, we're doing it with this season. We're like, okay, let's focus on self-growth. But we find ourselves talking about all the things that stop us from growing because we're so focused on how this thing will happen. It's just like, it's like prayer, right? We go, we pray. God, this is what we want. Now, this is how we would like it to.
I want it to come exactly just like this at this time, preferably here when I'm doing this. Not when you think is best for me, but really.
And then I'm gonna be surprised. I'm still gonna be surprised that but like, come on, like, let's be realistic here. It's the same way with our friends. Like when your friend tells you, "Oh, can you do this for me?" And you're going to start doing it to the best way you know how to do it, the way it comes to your mind. And then your friend says, no, not this way, that way. Can you try doing it this way? And then you give it back to them. Like, do you want to do it?
Yeah.
It's sent back to us. Be like, here, you try.
Right, yeah.
And we get stubborn. And then we're like, okay, no, we can't handle it. Please take it back to your hands and let it get done. And then we still have this attachment to how it will happen.
I think it goes back to like just control, the obsession of control, and trying to, there is this need, I think, inherently, that if we don't check consciously for ourselves, we end up being obsessing about controlling every variable in our life. And it's embracing the uncertain times, if the pandemic or COVID hasn't taught us just that. But it's like, it's getting comfortable with living in a constant state of change. And that's not something that we are comfortable with a lot of the times, because our way that society is set up, or work is set up, or you have to have definite things, and you have to have a definite schedule, and we kind of get caught up in that.
The safety net. There has to be a safety net. There has to be a guarantee that we will face no rejection, or we will face no failure, or we will face absolute acceptance.
Yeah.
There's somehow we feel so entitled to that guarantee, like the guarantee that we have already been given, that all is planned and all is well, and if it's not okay, it's not the end. Just go forth and do what you have to do, and be good. Just be a good human here. Whatever it is you're doing, just be a good human and trust. Have faith that you are here for a reason, that you are guided, that if you call for something, you are heard.
Yeah.
No, we don't. We're just
I think that comes with a lot of comfort levels, though. Like, just as you kind of mature in how you regulate your emotions, how you deal with people, how you deal with yourself, most importantly. So yeah, I think it does come with a certain comfort level as to like, of letting things go and trusting your intuition. It's almost it's like you have to go through certain tests and situations in order for that to kind of just like, how do you cultivate that, right? Like, how do you cultivate into like, this is back on the self and being like, you know what, I've done my research, I've talked to certain people, this is the time where I need to just take this on, and I know certain risks are at play, and I'm okay taking them on, and I can just go ahead and go.
That's the thing. There is no, like, again, not to be obsessed with COVID, but like, there is no enough amount of research to prepare you for things that the divine has planned that you will not have an idea about. It's just coming, whether you know it or not, whether you feel it or not, whether you like it or not, whether you're prepared or not. It's coming. It's coming. So why do we feel that sense of entitlement to control what is coming, when really, literally, all we're being asked to do is put out there what we want?
I mean, we don't like change. It's like, it's literally back to like asking, how do we ask? And it's like, even if making prayer and asking for certain things, right? Or making an intention and kind of seeing that intention like come about.
So I want to give a shout out to Flower Podcast, because they had a post that really, like, it's so true, and we don't necessarily think about it, that I did it. Like, obviously it's something I know, but to actually sit with that thought for a bit. And it was about prayer. It's like, we don't pray to change God's mind. We pray to change our habits. And my entire childhood has been, oh, you want something, just pray. Like, if you don't like what's going on, pray. But that's not why I'm supposed to be praying.
Right.
I'm not supposed to be praying to be asking for more stuff. I'm supposed to be praying to give thanks to what I already have, and to make that gratitude a habit in who I am, this recognition. And this takes me to the point of what you said. It boils down to not trusting our intuition, which connects me to our sister unicorn, Tara, who, in many of our conversations, and also with you, we keep saying, like, I don't think we fully recognize just how much we've internalized the trauma of white supremacy, of colonial mindsets of because that system doesn't trust what they don't see. That's why spirituality was tabooed. That's why, because it's not something you see. We don't see our intuition,
Right.
so we don't trust our intuition. We're more likely to trust what a completely random stranger says, or how they look at something that we are presenting or giving or coming in with, than we would trust whatever it is that's coming from inside of us. That's saying, this is you. This is where you need to go. This is how you need to go. And when I say absolute stranger, I don't necessarily, it could be a stranger, but it could also just be a family member or someone in your life. But at the end of the day, in relation or within the framework of what's happening inside you, they are complete strangers. They don't know. You don't know most of the times unless you're fully in tune with what's happening inside of you.
Right.
So why are we allowing that? Why are we giving that the power over this?
Because it's trusting logic more so than intuition. And really, I think fundamentally, to me, that's just kind of
what is logic. What is logic? What is logical in this world?
Proof, hardcore evidence. Like I need to know for sure that this business plan is going to work. So I'm going to do my market research, okay, into figuring out exactly if this plan and how the market is going to respond to it. How people are going to
go bankrupt.
What's that?
Did Victoria's Secrets already go bankrupt? Were they talking about it during COVID, that it was going bankrupt or whatever? I'm just thinking, businesses go bankrupt. It doesn't matter how elaborate their business plans are. It doesn't matter how much.
But here's the thing: but we can't dismiss our I think a lot of the times our need to like have that hardcore evidence. And I think this is exactly what you're saying, is like be comfortable in the not knowing, be comfortable in the intuition. But that's what I'm saying is my point to you. It comes with a certain point, like a certain comfort level. Because if you're someone who's always, for example, like hedging your risks or trying to like, you know, have a very like business mindset. And where is that coming from? You have to like ask yourself, right? It's like you have to deconstruct for yourself if this is coming from a capitalistic mindset of like, I just want to maximize my profit and I need to have my plan in place and I need it to hit exactly this target and I need it to hit that target in this particular quarter and have this amount of audience and this amount of consumers. I mean, we can go on and on and on, but this is how, quote unquote, the world is set up in that framework. This is what logic, evidence-based thinking is. And so we spend a lot of time in the thinking and creating our plans rather than also integrating a component of intuition and integrating a component also of the self and checking back into ourselves. Because at the end of it, it's like, it is a balance. It's not either or, at least to me, because when you are making a plan based on your intuition or based on like, I'm checking with myself to see how I feel, there is an element of like, I also want to make sure I'm not setting up myself for failure and just say, oh, I'm just going to go with it and just let me see what works out.
There's nothing that you've done in your life where you just said, I'm just going to go with it, and you've had something so wonderful come out of it? Nothing.
No, I wouldn't say absolutely nothing. So what I'm saying, but here's what I'm saying. No, because I think you're like pitting me against like it has to be this or that. And
I'm just saying why. Again, it goes back to like, where is that need coming from? For me, that's what I'm trying to find out. Where is that need coming from? That need for that guarantee. Where is it coming from? Why do we need that need? Why are we holding on to that need of, oh, well, I don't want to fail? Well, where are we even getting that? Why are we looking at failure as failures? Why are we not looking at the potential lessons?
Right.
Like, if you're failing, there is something that you have done wrong that you can learn what it is and not do it anymore, or do it better, or ask people to. Why is failure? We have like failure has become such a it's been like this invisible electric gate that you feel will zap you at any point you come close, and you don't know where it is, so you're just like tiptoeing, but ultimately you're stuck in your little as perfect as your little garden can be, but you're stuck there and you don't know how you can go out to the other side where the ice cream truck is, because you know that the failure boogie is this invisible electric gate that will zap you at any given point, because that's what you're thinking about.
Yeah. I mean, it's back to kind of I think what you mentioned is like the attachment of our success story. And I think it's something that I also I'm also going through the process of that. It's like, there are all these stories and narratives that I have created for myself of what I think is successful in life, whether it's in work, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in creatively what I do, whether it's in how I operate or any of it. And you do have to sit back at a certain point and rewrite that narrative for yourself, rewrite the story for yourself as to like what I think as enough would be successful for me. And I think a lot of the times what happens, and I've noticed this with myself, is like, I have started on this journey with a particular story of what I think how work should be successful for myself at working in finance, for example. And I had to let go of that, because as I went through that journey, as I'm going through that journey, and I'm like, I've evolved as a person also, emotionally, how I socialize with people, how I relate to work, and how I live my life. And I've changed a lot of perspectives and principles about that. And so that has to match my current story. And I think a lot of the times what we end up doing also psychologically is I've invested so much into this and I've come along into this journey up until this point. So I need to quit this job now after I'm like midway through my career and like start something completely new and take this other job at an entry level position and let go of relationships and let go of money, let go of my current situation. So it's like, these are the practical things that come into play. But if it's so important to myself, right? If it's so important for me to rewrite that story so I can live a life that I feel I'm fulfilled and I'm happy with, then I have to change that narrative and I have to change that story. But I think a lot of the times what we do is we just stick to that original story that we wrote years and years and years ago. And even that story, elements of that story may be informed by our background, by our family, by our society's expectations.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with ourselves, of how we see ourselves. But we're projecting and living this narrative, a story of what have people projected into us and what they see our strengths are. And so they're like, oh, wait, why are you quitting this job? You're so good at it. Or you're so good at X, Y, and Z. Like, why would you give that up? And it's like, okay, yeah, I have so many other great skills that I can leverage. And I can also take the same skills and actually pour them into something that I am actually passionate about. So it's not a waste and it's not a failure in that sense. But I think we're so hung up on, even when we do rewrite elements of our story, I don't want to view it as a failure necessarily. I'm just pivoting is how I'm thinking about it for myself. And so when I'm talking to people, I'm like, oh, I'm quitting my finance job and I'm going into this completely other field, design, creative, and that's where I want to live. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, it just didn't work out for you. Like, almost as though insinuating failure. And so I'm like, no, it's not failure. I'm pivoting. I've decided that this is not what I want to do.
But again, it's what pivoting means in relation to change. And it's that fear of change because we don't know the unknown. And it's that fear of the unknown because,
it's a cycle.
It's a cycle. I want to take a moment to acknowledge our fellow unicorns who are in the comment space. I also want to, since this whole episode was about holding ourselves accountable, we still haven't talked about what just starting looks like.
Okay.
And not just within the context of African unicorns, because we kind of tapped into that, but starting with something that is just for you and just you need to start is very different than something you're starting with someone and starting with people. And I want us to take a moment to acknowledge that and see how that looks differently for when we're doing it alone for ourselves vis-a-vis doing it with one another or doing it for other people. But hi, Myron. Myron's here. Alexis from Puerto Rico. Thank you. Yes, Sandy has my bag, my clutch, which you made. Thank you. I haven't received it yet, but I will soon. And I'm looking forward to it. We have Daniel. Hi, Daniel. And Tara, of course. Tara says, and failure is another construction of white supremacy and patriarchy. And she has a link dropped there for us. I want to say that's on Africa Week 2020's page. I'm not sure which one it is, but Tara, if you can tell us what page you put that comment on so we can direct people to go and read that article. Thank you. Thank you. Myron says, in the business world, logic is often based on probabilities, not absolutes. Searching for absolutes drives up costs.
100% agree.
Yes. So what comes up for you when someone just tells you, Inas, just do it. Just start. I'm really curious because I say that to you all the time. And I'm always wondering, what's in your head when I say that? Like, are you choking me in the back of your mind? Is there like a string?
Oh, gosh. So it is an overwhelming question, I have to admit, because I think about things very practically and like step by step. And so I want to make sure when I put my first foot forward that I know what's going to come after that. So I'm very cognizant of that tendency. So when you say just start, I literally in my mind go through this like, it's like a gear, like literally a circle where I'm just like going through everything from beginning to end for what I want the final product is to look like. And I realize there's just a whole lot of unknowns in that gear cycle that I'm going through. It's literally like holes that I have to like fill in. And for me, I have to think about what do I want to make a priority to fill in or focus on first. And I think what I had to like work with myself on is really to step back and chunk things and not really look at everything as like I need to do everything at once. Because I think that's where I start like overwhelming myself and kind of looking at the big picture and getting bogged down by all the little details that I have to figure out along the way. And I have to remind myself, it's like, this is what you need to figure out along the way. Like start and eventually, and case in point, like whether it's, for example, let's take jewelry making. It's something that I'm super passionate about, but I haven't really like for real started. And so
that's funny. Every time I talk to you about it, because I'm holding you accountable and I'm doing it live. Every time I talk to you about it, you tell me I've started. But I know deep down.
I haven't started for real in the way that I want to start, right? But I've gotten certain things set up. Like, I have my tools, I have my space, whatever. I've like set up the foundation for like how I want to just go ahead and make jewelry. I have the stuff, I have certain things, And what I've realized is like certain parts that I was stuck on, something as simple as like going to a space where there are other jewelry makers are sharing the space and working together has been like very valuable for me, because just even being in the space and absorbing a lot of the conversations that are happening, or just being a witness to them and listening to them talk about their business and their jewelry making journey I've taken a whole lot of that, like out of that I had I wouldn't have visualized or actually realized that I would be able to take away such a valuable experience just out of that one sitting, because it has reframed a whole lot of things in my mind about what jewelry making is, period. Because again, I've been doing it and I've been thinking about it, and I've been just in thoughts, also in thinking and sitting in my thoughts about it without really walking the way, right? And so like once I've started walking the way and talking to people that are actually doing it, and I'm getting pointers as to like, oh, you can buy, and you can buy these things in bulk from here, or like you can do this here. And these are all the things that I needed to figure out for myself, and I would have had to spend time researching on my own. But now I'm like, oh, I have answers to like 3 questions that I have like had already written for myself to go figure out, but these people have already just literally answered it for me. And so I was like, great, I don't have to spend so much time thinking about it and worrying about it. Like, why was that so difficult? So I think honestly, for me, back to your question, it's I had to step away from like when you say just start, in not looking at the big picture, in kind of like focusing on the first, like step 1, what do I need? As let me just chunk it and be like, in phase 1, let me just do this. And that has like lifted so much pressure off from seeing this whole plan through. Just even like mentally, and like the energy expended into like putting the pieces together. And the thing is, it's and wait, what I also had to realize is like, this is not the one element in my life that I'm 100% focused on. So imagine like this particular project that I'm trying to start, and I'm expending so much energy worrying about it. And then there's another aspect of my life that I'm also doing the same thing for, and so forth. And then I take a step back, and I'm realizing that I'm spending so much, it's really just a pattern in spending so much time thinking about a whole bunch of things, but not really taking any useful steps to even relieve the pressure and the worry on myself that I'm even placing on myself to just do it.
I feel like that has a lot to do with, again, how we understand, or how aware we are of energy as an idea, as a power, as a currency. Like if we were to think of energy as a currency, like as actual money that we are spending,
That's a lot of money.
do you think we would be spending the amount, like if every minute we are thinking about how our plan will materialize physically, pragmatically, and come together for as long as that plan we want to have control, like if every minute we spend thinking, if every second we spend thinking cost actual material, physical money that is leaving our bank account, would we still be thinking about things the way we currently do? And if not, why are we so willingly giving away the strongest, most powerful currency we could possibly own, our energy? Why?
Man, because you, first of all, in working with people, because you're trying to be nice. So that's one thing that's a whole episode, right?
I'm off that train. I'm off that train. I'm not trying to be nice anymore.
There's a whole joint on that.
However much I'm trying to be anything in the world, I have no control over how people will receive it. I can genuinely be caring about people, and from where I'm coming from where I'm standing, I love you. I want to be able to be here for you in any way that I can. You're not able to receive that, and I'm going to keep carrying that with me everywhere why? It doesn't matter whether it's I'm being nice, I'm being honest, I'm being true, I'm being creative, I'm being helpful, I'm being mean, I'm being useless, I'm being silly, I'm being goofy. It doesn't matter. People are going to take it however people are going to take it. And in quoting my very wise friend Rima, Rumi, if you're listening, thank you. Whenever it's not personal, there is no reason. People keep trying to make reason, to make sense out of things that are that are happening to you. But if you understand that it's not personal, it's not about you. Nothing that is happening around you is about you. The only thing that is about you is what you do. We want to talk control. That is the only thing you have control over. As a human here, that is the only thing you have control over. That is the only thing you will be asked about. That is the only thing you will be judged about. That is the only thing people can. No, because no one can ask you about like what your neighbor thinks or what your friend thinks or what your father thinks or what your mother. It's not on your own creator will not judge you based on that, will not hold you based on anyone or anything else. It is you, what you do with what you have in the time you've had here. Best. So it's not about being nice, because who am I being nice to? I'm being nice to myself. I'm starting that. That was a journey. That was a journey that I didn't understand, because when people were just talking about like, oh, self-care, and I was like, what do you mean self-care? I'm caring for everyone. I'm here for everyone, but like you realize you keep pouring into everyone, and if people aren't pouring back into you, you're going to dry up.
Yep.
Like that well is going to dry.
That is a journey that I think everyone should go on. And verify certain things for themselves. But it is actually, it's very important. I think it's trickiest when it comes to family, because like those closer relationships, a lot of the times we think that we don't have the space to allow ourselves to, like, for example, say no. And, again, it's a journey that everyone has to go through to kind of put those boundaries for themselves. Because ultimately, back to your point about energy, it's like there's so much that I can give. And it's like back to also, I don't know why this is coming up for me, but as an analogy, it's like when they do those safety videos in planes, and how like when they drop the mask, like you're supposed to like put the mask on yourself first before you put it on the baby or whatever kid that whatever minor you're traveling with, right? It is not mean, and it's not nice that you have to tend to yourself first, but it's like if I can't be healthy and able to take care, like how am I going to be able to take care of you? And I think a lot of the times people make it personal about themselves. And that's when we have to kind of just, I don't want to go too much into that, because that can be like a whole.
Yeah, and then we get caught up. Then we get caught up and we start wondering if what we're doing is the right thing or the wrong thing, or, did we not maybe consider this? Did we not consider that? Did we not do enough or catering to this person or that person? The thing is, listen, the creator of this universe has fans and has people, has critics, has fans and has critics, has groupies and has critics. Like the creator of everything, of all beings. Who am I to sit here and think I am going to be better than the creator and have everyone be my fan? Why? Why? No, you don't have to like me. And if you think I'm being mean, then think I'm being mean. Like, go and ask yourself why you're taking this as mean. This has a lot more to do with you than it does have to do with me. I am being true to who I am at any given point. And if I'm not, there's a disruption. The disruption. There's a break in my ability to function with you, and I'm not being my true authentic self.
Man, so what this is bringing up for me is pretty much fragility, and it's a whole lot, and I really don't want to get into it and at like 50 minutes now, but it's pretty much dealing with emotional fragility and sensitivity. And it's okay to break hearts sometimes, because maybe the healing journey will mend it into something that you
I was
wouldn't.
literally just going to say, sometimes our heart needs to be broken to open. I read that somewhere. I don't remember where. I'm grateful to whoever wrote it or like captured it and put it out there into the ether, because everything has a life of its own once it's on the internet. But it's so true.
Like if you broke any bone and it didn't heal properly, you're gonna have to break it again. So, so I don't understand why we don't apply that to our emotional state too. So
it's really interesting, because I was journaling about that, and it came up again in a conversation I think yesterday. We are literally the only beings that rely on healing or feeling whole from outside of us. Everything that is outside human control is divinely self-healing. Everything that is outside human, even our scars.
yeah.
Our scars, because we have no control over this, because this is divinely created, we have no control over it. The skin will do whatever it needs to do. It will create the shell to protect that wound until it takes its time and space to heal.
What do? We pick up the scab. We keep looking at it rather than trusting that our bodies know how to heal. Our bodies know how to take care of themselves when it comes to something like tissue and coming back together. And so we get in our own way, even to like pick at the scab and creating more wounds to give our bodies more work to heal what we just exposed again.
So to go back to our topic and what just starting means, where that conversation started with myself, and I think as we wrap up, I will leave that as maybe closing remarks for people to chew on, was this scar I got here. I don't know if people can see it with the reflection. You can?
Nah.
Anyway, I don't remember how old I was. It was an art project at El Elson, and Mr. John Knight, if you are listening, it was a project for you, for your class, where we were creating a home for Speedy, a little mouse that we made with.
Wait, you said how? When was this?
I don't remember how old I was, because like my age in relation to whatever class I was in at any given moment just doesn't fit whatever timeline. I want to say I was 8, maybe 9 years old.
Okay.
And so for this assignment, I was like fidgeting with a plastic bottle, because I decided I'm going to make that house for Speedy out of a big plastic bottle. And so I'm trying to cut the plastic bottle with a knife, and the adults I was staying with at the time were not. It was, the push for self-reliance, with a knife that's big with an 8-year-old, but that's fine. And anyway, I end up like chopping up this like prism of a chunk of meat that just flies out, and like my bone is like right there, and everything is gushing blood everywhere. Years. Oh, and I wasn't taken to hospital. I was just basically told to just suck it up. There was coffee put on, and it was wrapped. And these aren't my parents. If you're listening, I was not with my parents at the time. But anyway, I was sent to school with like this massive roll of cloth to like hold the bleeding, and it was just like, oh, I mean, it works. This is my sentiment and my emotion to the world right now. Years later, I'm sat there and I'm looking at it, and I remember at the time wondering, oh my God, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with like a prism-shaped hole in my finger where I will continue seeing my bone, because it was beyond me how it would self-heal. And the more I look at it, and the more I look at how it healed, and it has this like little nice beauty mark at the end. and it kind of looks like a check mark, actually. I'm just like, what's stopping me from starting is the fear of failure, the fear of falling, the fear of being hurt by how people judge me, the fear of how people will perceive me, the fear of whatever it is that I'm feeling afraid of has an element of either feeling broken or hurt or pain or something that will require healing. And I don't trust that I will be able to heal.
Yeah.
That's what's stopping me from starting. And so I have a reminder now, and like anytime I hesitate on starting, I feel immediately just like it's calling on me that even if you fall, you will heal. Whether it's your body, whether it's your mind, whether it's your heart, whether it's your soul, whatever it is. If you're being called to something, if something keeps popping up, just follow that voice. Just for like, what do you have to lose? That's for me, that was it. The question that I ultimately ask myself before just doing it is, what do I have to lose? So whatever it is you're thinking of doing, starting, stopping, quitting, jump starting, refreshing, rejuvenating, whatever it is, whether it's journaling or Zumba or gym or jewelry or pottery or fishing, whatever. If you haven't started yet, really sit with yourself and ask yourself, what do you have to lose to take that first step? Whatever that first step is. You have agency over how comfortable you are or not with it. You do. You have that control. But what do you have to lose? Ask yourself that.
I think I want to end here. I think that was sufficiently inspirational, at least for me.
You know, I think I'm going to start adding that to my list of things. Inspirational speaker.
You know what? I will endorse that.
Done. I will call on you for that.
Yes.
Because I was thinking motivational speaker, inspirational speaker. Just start. Start.
I will.
We will start closing this broadcast now, and we will thank you. When's our next date, Ines?
Oh shoot. Good question. 2 weeks from now. But of course, so today's the 8th, the 22nd. So August 22nd is when we're back here for our following episode.
Okay, mark your calendars, unicorns.
Yes.
Next unicorn meets up. Oh, by the way, the link that Tara posted for us to share about failure and failure being an outcome of white supremacy and patriarchy is on our African Unicorns page on Facebook. If you're not there yet, if you're watching from any of the other sister platforms, please make your way to African Unicorns, like, share, subscribe to get the notifications.
Yes. Dima, it's been great talking to you about just starting. I've definitely have some things to journal about and think about for myself. And I hope it was, I extend the invitation for everybody else to also, as these questions that we posed, and you kind of see how we just went through it, just really a back and forth, asking ourselves, clarifying certain things for ourselves. In the process of doing that, on this platform, I think there's plenty of takeaways for personal journaling or an invitation to introspect and start answering some questions for yourself as to why you're holding yourself back or stopping yourself or not realizing whatever dream that you want to have, want to turn into a reality, as to where is that first step? Where do we start? So thank you for that, Dima. And on that note, I will be back on here with you on August 27th, August 22nd at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So Ciao.
Thank you.